Welcome. It's been hot as outside, and I've had to move all of my sessions in the morning. That's a fun fact, because, wow, hot days. I'm still drinking coffee. Life updates. I switched universities. I am now hired at Kendall College of Art and Design by Ferris instead of Grand Valley. That was a hard decision with, kids, leaving my students. But easy decision because tenure does not come ever, that opportunity. And Ferris, with Kendall, I got both my master's degrees out. I taught from 2015 to 2022 there. Grand Valley I'd been at since 2014 on and off as an adjunct, and then the last 2 years obviously I've been there full time. But there is no promise that I was going to get tenure after that, and academia's in a weird spot. I love my business, but I'm not going to be doing weddings probably often, if at all, unless for people that I know after 40. So I have a game plan for my future. But I accepted the position, I was super excited, and then I was like, oh, my students. So if you are a student of mine, my heart is hurt a little bit. You get attached, especially with getting to know people, their walks of life, and then also their work. But I'm just 20 minutes down the road, so I can still assist. Especially as someone who does photography day in, day out. That's an opportunity. But yeah, I'm very excited. We start school in 2 weeks, literally. I have to move in my office sometime. My office is in my car, and as an autistic girly, it's driving me mad. I don't even want to drive my car. The other day we took my car to my parents' house for the weekend. There's just so much. I don't love that. So that's not been fun for me. Anyway, moving on. Today I would love to talk about the wedding industry. If you are not in it, you're trying to get in it, or you're a wedding photographer is just a wedding photographer. I have some news for you. Oh my gosh, we're so much more than that. What you sign up for to be as a wedding photographer is an accountant, an email, PR person, a scheduler, a wedding coordinator, sometimes a DJ assistant, depending on if they have any experience at all. I could go on forever about DJs. Just trying to manage your own mental health and self-care, dealing with people. And that's not just wedding guests and bridal parties and parents. That's also vendors. Photographers and videographers have complicated relationships. It shouldn't be, but it is. Some of them are great. And I know they feel the same about us. Some photographers don't know what they're doing. Some videographers also don't know what they're doing. I am a big advocate for having a videographer that does the idea of documentation. I love videographers that are hired to get the things that I don't get, because that's very important. The ones that just grab my moving pictures, I have complicated feelings about, because I don't know. That's a slideshow. I'm going to move on from that topic. If you'd like a conversation about a videographer and doesn't matter what I think, probably not. But I did create this series really just to shit on the wedding industry. So that's something you're curious to hear of good videographers that I've found and what they do. I'll talk about that. I feel like those people should be amped up. Videographers, you should be covering things that photographers can't. Full stop. You should be just documenting things that are, precious. Not following photographers around and getting stage shit. Yeah. But some people want that, and so I understand it's a complicated topic. Anyway, if you sign up to be a wedding photographer and you're an introvert, no, you're not. You're not anymore. You're not an introvert anymore. I was an introvert. I still am at heart. We covered I have autism? I do. I had this conversation, I body double with my best friend when we edit. I know that I started that sentence 7 times before I completed it, and I still didn't complete it. This is it. This is my brain. Anyway, I told her earlier today how much I enjoy being alone, that I could be alone for weeks on end. My spouse doesn't even have to be home, and I would be fine with that. And they were like, well, maybe, you know, like, gay relationships are different, because she's married to a woman, and she was like, I'm very attached to my partner, and I was like, no, I know hetero people that are, like, very attached to each other. I know, like, bi people who are very attached to each other. I just simply am not, and that's part of my autism. I love being alone. And, like, you could call me once a week and check in, and that's probably the human interaction that I really need. So I love being alone. However, when I'm photographing weddings, it is my job to blend in and make people feel comfortable. When I'm photographing people, it is my job to make you feel comfortable. A part of the job of photography is very intimate. Like, it's very intimate to be photographing something. It's one of the most intimate experiences people are going to deal with. It's very one-on-one. And the biggest part of that job is psychology, making people feel confident and comfortable in your presence. So you cannot be an introvert, because that feels weird. So I've had to rid the idea of people judging me, people feeling weird around me. I leave those spaces knowing that I probably won't see these people, like, ever again, and I just become kind of chaotic. And as long as I get the shots, like, that's all that matters to me. So if you're an introvert, you need to learn A, how to mask just for the time being, or B, how to get rid of those insecurities and fear, and to just let that go for the time being. You can go home to your cat or dog and recluse after that, but during that job, you can't. And if you don't feel like you can do that, I would suggest not doing that job. The people who sign up for it and they're like, I just want to stand in the corner and be quiet. I respect the idea of just pure documentation during weddings. You know, there is a part of a wedding where I am just documentary, but there are spaces where I cannot be, and that's like family photography, portraits, and there has been a push for photography to, like, get rid of that. I just don't think that that's serving people well. I think that that's pushing an artistry, and although a good one, I don't think that, I'm gonna be saying some bold words here, I don't think that that's worth the full cost for clients who are spending thousands of dollars, because you're not really giving them everything that they need. Because there are portraits that, like, you want with your grandmother that are smiling. Like, you want portraits because we have the ability to do them. You know, we reminisce on these, like, film days where, like, we just had candids and stuff, and that's because we had limited 36 frames per roll, and you had so many rolls. So, like, of course you had to really pick and choose your shots. But we have an endless roll in the back of our card and our camera right now. So I just feel like that's very prestigious to be, and presumptuous to be saying, like, I just want to do this. And yeah, that's complicated. I don't think that's a black and white situation, but I do think that, you know, there are places and times to just be documentary. Wedding photography is not only documentary during, like, the event part. We're also portrait photographers. We're stage still life and almost product photography in the beginning. When we're doing details, we're portrait. When we're doing actual family and actual portraiture, we are candid and looking at reactionary kind of photography. We can be very fine art photographers too when we're looking for concepts, when we're telling stories and doing more journalism. So, like, it is everything in one. So I remember going to art school and kind of getting shit on for being like this wedding photographer, but I'm like, man, I do all of these styles in one day, and sometimes I do studio photography. So say what you want, but I learned all of those crafts, and I can do them all within an hour. So you do have to learn how to do it all. And at the end of the night, I do flash photography. So, like, put me in a box, and I have 7 different types of light that I have to learn and utilize very quickly, sometimes within an hour or two, depending on my scenarios. So you do have to learn all of these things. People who just do daylight photography too, it's like you're really limiting yourself on what you can do and what's available for you. So I would encourage you to look outside your comfort and expand those things too. With strange interactions, you also have to deal with those. And my first 10 years, I was not good at putting out those fires or being uncomfortable. As I've gotten older, I've gotten very sarcastic and leaning into that. I've had so many older women come up to me and be like, you should be photographing that right now. Like, as I'm like finally sitting down and eating my first piece of lettuce of the day. Just like so tired. Oh. And it's like someone's kid that my couple doesn't care about dancing on the floor. And I used to like feel guilty and I would get up and go do it. Now I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like, you should go photograph that. Just like, man. So yeah. Sometimes you'll feel guilty about like not photographing at certain times when either you're having a break or like you've already photographed it 50 times. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to feel guilty about that. More often than not, I have had men come up to me and ask me if it's my real job, or they'll tell me they used to photograph, probably auto film sometime in their life, and it's usually like on a beach for their family vacations. That's the only time I'll ever pull out my degrees and then I'm a professor. It's also really annoying that people, when I tell them I teach, then they're impressed with me, as if like I didn't put my blood, sweat, and tears into my business, which was a hell of a lot harder to pump up in the ground and get it as successful as it is today than me getting degrees and becoming an academic. I almost said athletic. Getting my master's, I would say it was stressful, but it was not as hard as, and that's because academia it comes easy to me. I love studying, I love writing, I love making work. So like that was enjoyable to me. Doing taxes and grinding and working every single day, sometimes 70, 80 hours a week, is not enjoyable to anybody. But it was just like what I had to do to get my business off the ground. So whenever I'm like, yeah, this is my full-time job, they're like, oh, like that's not a job. Anything by definition that gives you money is a job. So when I then had said to people like, yeah, but I teach this too. I have 2 masters, I have 3 bachelor's degrees. Then they would be like, oh, tell me more. Like that was more impressive. So yeah, that's the only time I pulled it out was when, men would tell me important things, and then I would pull that out, and then they walk away. Like, I have nothing to one-up you at, so. And then when I tell them I'm, like, internationally showing fine artwork, no one cares, which is wild to me, because that's, like, probably my most proud moment right now, is, like, I'm internationally showcasing work. I have international galleries constantly reaching out to me right now, asking me to show in, like, Spain and in France, and like that to me is like, oh, I've made it, which is not even close. They're small galleries, but they're like huge to me. So yeah, learning how to like burn out those comments, I would say find a sense of humor and respond with what you can. Know that you're never going to see those people again, and it is what it is. They don't understand how many times that we, specifically if you are not, no offense, a white guy, that we've heard that. I've had people come up to video people who are not even identified with my business and be like, so can you guys go photograph over there, and like act like they're my boss. And I've had the video people had to be like, she's not associated with me. But because he was the guy, they like went to him for my direction. That was another time that really bamboozled me. So you just have to learn how to take these things with like grace and just kind of like, oh gosh. But yeah, I've had some crazy comments, very misogynistic comments like that. And those are the things I think those are the most annoying things. Something I didn't know, which is really funny on like Reels and TikTok. I'm finally starting to get to like the photographer side with my algorithm, and I don't scroll very much online. I've learned that scrolling too much on my photo accounts is a bad thing for me. I love for inspiration, but not too much. We see so many images anyway that it becomes very easy to subconsciously copy and paste, and then not realize that you're doing it. And then also just like comparison is a thief, right? So like knowing that your work is good enough, I get really easily comparable in my mind where I'm looking and then I look at my work and I'm like, I don't know if it's good enough, and that's just not good for me. So but there have been some really good ones, like Diet Coke during a reception is apparently a universal thing. My second and I always either get coffee or Diet Coke, and it's just like super refreshing during the reception, and I didn't know that was such a thing. Another thing is like we're always so flattered to be on the guest list to have a seat, but like we're almost even happier when we're not, so we can go stand somewhere on a cocktail table and be by ourselves, because then we just have 10 minutes of like no one talking to us, and like we're always like, yay, we were remembered, but like damn it, we have to like small talk with people. So I didn't realize that everyone felt the same about that too. So it's just funny, like if you get on like a photographer Reels, like, oh my god, we all have the same experiences. Just like, it's so funny. Yeah. If you are interested in doing wedding photography, you obviously can ask me questions anytime. You are a little bit of a wedding coordinator if they don't have one. But also if they have one, it's really smart to reach out to them and tell them everyone has a different work pace. I can work very, very fast. I can also like slow it down and just like let my couples have fun and not do so many staged things and do more of like a documentary style with like a few portraits. But I could do portraits and a whole wedding party within less than an hour, if I have to. But I also can slow that down and do it within 2. So it's smart to like let people know how fast or slow you need. So that way they can appropriately gauge how much time. But if they don't have a wedding coordinator, you better be sending a timeline. Otherwise, shit will get very busy very fast. I had no voice last week, so I put this off for a long time. Sometimes it's hard for me to want to do these because I don't have many people that watch them at all. I just do them for fun. And then eventually, the more I get out of this, the more I'm gonna just talk about how I hate things. Yeah, MGK just came out with a new album, so I am stuck on that permanently. And then Taylor Nation and Taylor have done so many weird 12 things today. I'm not ready for a new album for that. I'm stuck on MGK, and I would like to live there for a while. I think Indigo's a great song, but yes, that's all. I feel like I should call these like cozy time, not unmasked, because I am letting you know that I got a lot going on up here, but I'm always drinking coffee and in pajamas. And soon that might change. Probably not. I'll probably record them before I go to class. Before I get ready. Who knows? Okay, goodbye.